In recent years, the public use exception to New York's 1977 decriminalization law has been abused by police officers. New York City police have told tens of thousands of people, mostly young people of color, to empty their pockets, thus making them criminals. Each and every day, New York City police officers unlawfully tell people to open up their pockets and are given a PL 225.10, criminal possession of marijuana. If not properly handled, this seemingly minor offense can potentially destroy a criminal's future. If you have been convicted of a drug possession or distribution offense, then you are completely ineligible for college financial aid from FAFSA. Also, you must note that you have been arrested on every job application that you fill out from now until the day that you die. The consequences for something that happens to hundreds of New Yorkers, about 44,000 each year, could be catastrophic. That is why all across the country, people are shouting out for the decriminalization and complete legalization of marijuana. Their argument is sound, and the argument of their opponents can all too easily be refuted. Which side do you agree with? Legalization of marijuana would be beneficial to society and to the economy. Studies show that marijuana is less harmful than alcohol and cigarettes, and that it also has less abusive tendencies related to it than both of the prior mentioned. My question is this. If tobacco, cigarettes, and alcohol are 100% endorsed, advertised, and supported, why isn't marijuana also? There are many key points at the forefront of the argument used against the use of marijuana. However, each of them can be easily refuted. This argument can easily be flattened by simply stating that, first of all, which relevant lots of the nation consider marijuana use unhealthy? A recent study states that a majority of people in each age group think that occasional marijuana use is healthy and acceptable. Similarly, frequent marijuana use is currently at its all-time high, while frequent alcohol and cigarette uses are at an all-time low. Also, each and every state in the United States supports and assists in the distribution and sale of cigarettes and alcohol. If we can argue that marijuana is less harmful than cigarettes and alcohol, how can we say that it would be immoral for a state to be involved in the sale and distribution of marijuana? Once more, I'd like to reiterate that marijuana is less harmful than both alcohol and cigarettes. Second, unlike cigarettes, research with medical marijuana shows that there are no components of cannabis sativa that would encourage addiction, and cannabis has less associated abusive tendencies than alcohol. There is nowhere to argue that it would cause neglect of children or violence. In addition, studies show that use of marijuana could help to decrease the symptoms and aid healing to those patients suffering from glaucoma, AIDS, cancer, multiple sclerosis, and post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. If it's called medicine and doctors are giving it to their patients, why shouldn't it be used? The third of the 4 points of the 4-point argument is that the use of soft drugs, such as marijuana, will lead to the use of hard drugs. This is also known as the gateway theory. Marijuana has been called a gateway drug for years. However, despite the stigma, there is no scientific evidence that the use of marijuana would lead to the use of harder drugs. There is no component of marijuana that would cause users to want to move on to harder drugs. To put it frankly, some people just like to do drugs, and the legalization of marijuana is not going to change that. When it comes down to it, only one thing can be said. Marijuana does not take away your free will. Finally, the last point at the forefront of the argument of those opposed to the legalization of marijuana is that drug dealers will sell to anyone, including children. Merchants who legally sell alcohol and tobacco are not allowed to sell to children. Many high school students report that it is easier to obtain legal drugs than alcohol and tobacco. This point is almost irrelevant because while the repeal of the Controlled Substance Act of 1970 which classified cannabis as having high potential for abuse, no medical use, and not safe to use under medical supervision, would mean that there is no federal ban on marijuana. It does not imply that there are no regulations and restrictions on marijuana at all. It is assumed that states would place similar restrictions on marijuana as currently apply to tobacco. You would have to be 18 years of age with a valid photo ID, etc. Marijuana would not just be available to whoever wanted it. One thing that we can be sure of is that whether marijuana is made legal for medical or recreational use, new marijuana dispensaries will open up all across the countries. These are places where it is possible to obtain large or small quantities of various strains of marijuana. The advantage of dispensaries is that it is a credible, reliable place to obtain marijuana. This would result in the extinction of the drug dealer. Another advantage is that the increase in marijuana dispensaries would result in a decrease in synthetic marijuana and laced marijuana, which could lead to hazardous hallucinations or bad trips, as well as increased punishment. More importantly, synthetic and laced marijuana are undoubtedly dangerous. No matter how well you know your drug dealer and your drug dealer knows their drug dealer, unfortunately there is always a risk that you could end up smoking synthetic or laced marijuana. Since the marijuana in dispensaries comes from certified cannabis farms and growers, there is no risk of smoking anything other than marijuana. In this way, the point of argument for those in opposition to the legalization can be shot down. There's a lot of information about marijuana out there, and our legislators' primary concern should be to sift through this information and iron out what is and isn't true. There are a long list of pros and cons for legalization of this substance, but in the end, it is undeniable that the legalization of marijuana is the best option. For the first time ever, an MSNBC shows that the majority of Americans, 52%, support the legalization of marijuana. Unfortunately, the legalization of marijuana isn't something that's going to happen overnight. It takes a large movement, and every shred of effort helps. Organizations such as NORML push Congress to do the right thing each and every day, and you can go to their website to buy merchandise, sign petitions, and contact your Congress representative. If the legalization of marijuana is something that you support, please put in the time to write a letter to your Congress representative. The more support our cause has, the more likely it is that we will reach our ultimate goal in the end.